Are there unique habits that set frugal people apart from others? We think there are 10.
So when it comes to extreme frugality, why does it seem that there are some people, we all know them, right? It looks like it comes easy to them. And we wonder, were they born that way? Have they always been savers? Have they always been frugal? How do they know how to do this stuff? Well, the truth is, it's really not natural.
It's not in their DNA?
It is not in their DNA. These people have actually put systems and habits into place which allow them to consistently spend less and save more. We think that there are actually 10 traits, 10 daily habits about money that extremely frugal people embrace every day of the week. And we're going to talk about those in this video.
Hi, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And if you're ready to learn more about frugality, that's what this channel is all about.
And we are, by the way, under the median. So before we get started talking about the 10 habits of extremely frugal people, we want to let you know that you want to stick with us because we have a bonus tip at the end. And that bonus tip is the one thing that we really feel like after years and years of extreme frugality and living on a low income and raising 4 sons debt-free on a low income, this is the one habit that I think has allowed us more than any other habit to actually dream big dreams, grab them with both hands, refuse to let go, and actually achieve those dreams. So make sure you stick with us.
So let's get started talking about these 10 frugal habits.
Now, when we went through these habits, we've given lots, and I do mean lots of tips on frugality on this channel. We talk all the time about we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. So we're giving you lots and lots and lots of tips like throwing spaghetti at a wall and you decide what sticks, what's applicable to you and what's not. But for this program, we wanted to really delve a little deeper and talk about some habits. What is it in the mindset of extremely frugal people that sets those people apart from others and perhaps even sets them up for success? So the first thing that extremely frugal people do all the time is...
Well, the first thing I want to do, I do want to address the spaghetti in the wall issue. Now, if we showed you our walls, we really don't have spaghetti all over them. I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that point. Frugal people start each day with a plan.
Frugal people like to know what's coming up. So when they start the day, they are the people who are time blockers. Tell me in the comment section, are you also a time blocker? Because I do it every single week. I block out each moment of my day so I know what's coming up. We know what events are coming up that day, where we're going that day. More importantly, where and when we're going to spend money that day. So we like to know ahead of time what's coming up so we are prepared for what is coming up in the next 24 hours. So why in the world does this first point even make a difference to these people saving money?
Well, good habits can be the difference between failure and success. Now, frugal people realize that frugality is really 20% head knowledge and 80% hard work and sweat equity. It takes a lot of deliberateness to stay on this course. And these are things that frugal people understand in order to be able to build wealth and work on a low income.
The second unusual or maybe even little known habit of extremely frugal people is that extremely frugal people tend to actually write their goals down and track them. Now, we've talked about this like multiple times on this channel. Why is it important to actually write the goals down instead of just having them up in your head?
Well, 70% of people that write down their goals actually meet them. So it really helps to have something concrete on paper, something in black and white that you can look at. It helps you to obtain your goals if you have them written down. Our third habit is frugal people are active learners. They go out of their way to seek out information on frugality. They'll listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos like these. They'll watch the news. They pay attention to trends. They're in tune with what's going on, and that helps them to stay on track with their own frugality.
And those same frugal people actually are very well aware that there are so many different dynamics that are happening every day that actually impact the value of their money and how they intend to spend their money. So it's very broad based, and they take in a lot of information from a lot of different sources. One of our viewers actually wrote a comment that I think perfectly sums up what we're talking about in this point. So I'm just going to read it to you. Books Are People Too recently wrote, I find that watching business news while I'm getting ready in the morning helps me make better financial decisions, especially where making purchases are concerned, and especially groceries. Business networks and their website gives me a heads up on supply issues, energy prices, and world events that may affect prices and things like crop failures. So as you can see, she's talking about that very broad, that very big, wide net that we just talked about, where she is getting information from a variety of sources and realizing that that information will directly impact how she chooses to spend her money. We are lifelong learners.
Another thing that we do along with all those things is that we hang out with other frugal people. We talk to them, get ideas and things, maybe some suggestions that they might have that they're doing that maybe we're not. We can always learn from each other. Our fourth habit in the series is that frugal people buy quality, and they rarely pay full price for the items they purchase.
Now, we actually did a whole video on the difference between being frugal and being cheap. And we talked in depth about this whole idea of buying quality. So we're going to make sure that that video is linked in the description of this video. We'll link it up above too. So the long and short of it is we actually appreciate quality because quality equals lasting us a really, really long time. So we're willing to spend the extra money. It's just that we really want to get that item and we want to be able to get it at the best price possible.
Right. I mean, well, we're still going to look at sales. We're going to do our research on the internet. We're going to find sources where we can purchase that item for less. If you're buying a car, we're going to look at maybe one make and model, but we're going to go to different dealerships and find out what are they asking for it, and we're going to get the very best deal on that item that we can find. So we buy good items, good quality that's long lasting.
So it's kind of like that old song, My Mama Told Me, You Better Shop Around. Number 5, and this sort of segues right off of the tip that we just shared with you, and that is that frugal people consider the long-term costs and the long-term implications of everything that they purchase. So they don't just look at the initial purchase price, they look at maintenance, they look at different replacement part costs. They look at exactly what that item is going to cost them 12 months down the road, 24 months down the road, and even further than that.
You know, when we got a dog, our dog we got from a shelter. The shelter's price at that time, this was back in, I think we were talking 1992 when we got Shelby. They were at $65. So that was our outlay for Shelby. Well, we had to buy a collar, a leash. We had to buy a couple of bowls, a water bowl, a food bowl. Then there was maintenance costs, such as the food that you buy every week to feed the dog. Then there's vet bills. The long of it is we were budgeting $500, I believe $500 or $600 for that first year of owning Shelby. And the costs went up a little bit gradually as food costs and other costs went up. So you have to consider the long-term costs of buying anything. Now, in terms of our cars, we bought two that are the most reliably rated cars of their types. And I looked at not only the long-term cost of reliability, what about getting parts, putting gas in the cars? All of those factor into how expensive is that item going to be that you buy over time, the time of owning it.
Hey, give us some ideas in the comments section, will you? We just gave you 2 examples of something that you buy, and you really got to think down the road as to what that item is going to cost you in the future. Tell us what items you buy that you think, I really consider not just the initial cost of that item, but different ways that that item is going to continue to cost me money down the road. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what your examples are.
The 6th habit is that Frugal people live below their means. Now, this means the obvious factor in here is that we don't take out loans. We live below the amount of money that we bring home in a paycheck. So this requires quite a bit of planning. When you're looking at something to buy, you want to look at where you're at on your budget, and is this coming in under or at budget so that you know that you can afford it. That way you're not going beyond what you're able to do.
And we are not spending every penny that we make every single month. We're making sure that there's some margin in there. Extremely frugal people are always extremely aware of where they are economically. We are not swayed by every current fad that comes out. That just sort of goes literally right over our heads. We're like, whatever. And it doesn't bother us to feel like we are not on point as far as trends are concerned, that we're not wearing the specific color that is appropriate or considered to be
trendy
in fashion that season. That doesn't bother us all, because frankly, we're going to wait 3, 4, 5 seasons, and whoever bought that thing brand new is going to donate that baby to Goodwill, and we're going to buy it for about 90% less than that person paid for it new. That literally does not bother us at all. Now, are we aware probably of those trends? I would say, yeah, we're actually aware of what's going on. It's just that we don't let it sway us from our designated course of action and the way that we have chosen to spend our money for now. It takes an awful lot to sort of zigzag us off of what that intended path is.
Okay, we're at number 7. Frugal people count nickels and dimes. What does that mean? Do we sit there like Scrooge in the evening with a big pile of coins and counting them?
We have a change jar. Tell us in the comment section, do you have a change jar too? Because we do. We always have a jar of change sitting around. No, what we mean is that we understand the value of saving small amounts of money over time. Because if you have small ways that you're saving small amounts of money, if you get enough of those ways together, you are actually saving a significant amount of money over time. And we're willing to recognize not only the value of nickels and dimes, but also of pennies. And we will add here that we are not beyond leaning down while we are out in public or on a walk and picking up said nickels, dimes, or pennies off of the roadway. If we happen to see them sitting on the roadway, we will pick them up. Tell us if you're with us. Do you pick up change when you see it, even if you're in public?
Number 8, frugal people don't buy first generation of anything. Now, let me give you some examples. When CDs first came in, this would be in the mid-'80s. In fact, around 1984.
Anybody remember that?
Yeah, at 1984, a CD player cost anywhere from $300 to $350. That's what a first-gen CD player cost, and they were pretty fancy. And of course, usually the wealthy people had those items first. I did not get our first CD player until 1992, and I think I paid $100 for that one. An example of television sets, big screen TVs were really, really popular in the late 80s, and they were huge, heavy sets. Well, we had a little 13-inch portable Sony TV that we watched. In fact, I still have one just like it. That is what we watched all the time for our television.
I'm just laughing because I remember that, he really wanted a bigger screen. I have to be honest with you guys. And I was like, no, we gotta wait. And when he'd say, I need a bigger screen, I'd tell him to move his chair closer, because that was the equivalent of getting a big screen, was just move your chair up.
It did work, I gotta say. You get closer to the TV, you got an instant bigger screen. The other item that came out too was the VCR. VCRs came out in 1977.
Oh gosh,
and
$800,000.
They were north of $1,400.
Yep.
So very, very first ones. Well, there weren't too many people that bought those first ones, and I didn't get my first VCR until 1987. I bought it in November of 1987. I paid $312 for it. So that's an example of we don't buy first generation of anything.
So, I think our point is, so first gen, when something first comes out, it's going to be horribly expensive. We are very happy to wait, to watch to see if this trend is even here to stay. I mean, give me an amen if you see something come in and you're like, that ain't gonna stick.
Yeah.
Because you just want to wait. You want to know if you're wasting your money on something. We're happy to wait until the third or fourth or fifth gen comes out. And then we probably aren't even going to buy the fourth or fifth gen. We're going to go back and buy the first gen, because then the person that paid so much money for that first gen is going to sell it for like 75% less than what they paid for it in the first place. So we are willing to bide our time and wait to decide if that's really where we want to spend our money. And that really harkens back to the very first thing we said. We want to know when we're spending our money, when, where, why, and how. And we want to have that plotted out and planned out.
And honestly, what was good 7 or 8 years ago is still good. Just because they've gotten newer, flashier, better, faster, doesn't mean that you can't be happy with something that was working just fine 7 or 8 years ago.
So we don't buy first gen, and we do make very few unplanned purchases. That's pretty much unheard of us to go on a jag and say, we're going to buy XYZ. We've talked to you about some of the mistakes we've made when we've went, oh yeah, we're going to spend our money. And that's like, whoa, no, we shouldn't have spent our money on that. Not a lot of unplanned purchases going on here.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the ninth thing that extremely frugal people do, this is another habit, is that we tend to analyze our bills and we analyze our receipts. So we want to make sure that we didn't get overcharged on something. We're going to save those receipts just in case we have to take that item back and it's within the 30-day grace period. We're not afraid to do that and say, this didn't work out the way I thought it would, or this thing did not last, or it broke, or whatever. We're very happy to do that. We tend to ask stores before we buy about their return policies and about what their product guarantees are. We really check those things out before we purchase that product. And then we keep our receipts and we analyze them and say, you know what? Like I've talked about this when it's in relation to groceries. We've talked about groceries a lot on the channel. And I've talked about when I wanted to lower our grocery budget. This was years ago. The kids were still young and we needed to lower our grocery budget. I would literally come home from the grocery store and analyze that receipt and say, where did I spend money I didn't need to spend? Which of these could be done less expensively if I make it from scratch? Where is the money? Where are the holes? Where are the gaps? And how can I keep those gaps from happening? We tend to do that. Extremely frugal people.
Our 10th habit in the list is frugal people do their research on an item before they purchase it. And I mean, they spend a lot of time researching, looking into the item, and finding out all that they can about that item to make sure it's going to be a good, solid purchase.
We want to know where our money's going. And the other thing that we do in relation to this is we decide ahead of time how much money we're willing to spend, but we make that determination based on our research. Larry is seriously, guys, brilliant at this when it comes to automobiles. I've just learned over the years, I just sort of let him go. And when he's come to conclusions, he comes back and lets me know, because he does copious amounts of research on makes, models, how much it costs to repair, common repairs, what parts cost for all these different types of automobiles. And by the time I'm like, just tell me when you've narrowed it down. That's what I really, really want to know.
Yeah, are even parts available? Are there places in town that will service the item? I mean, I could get a Saab or some foreign car, and if you're in France, go for it.
Do it.
But
tell us if you live in France and you have a Saab. We want to know.
Well, I'll tell you a car that I avoided like the plague. Two kinds: Jaguars and BMWs. Now you might say, well, you wouldn't consider that anyway. Well, if you go old enough, we could afford a Jaguar. Yeah. We could afford a 2004 Jaguar, no problem. We could afford.
We might surprise you guys someday. You don't know.
Yeah, or a BMW. But the research that I did on BMWs was they require a lot of maintenance, and at a BMW dealership, it's very expensive. So I wanted to avoid those makes because I didn't want to pay a lot of extra money for an oil change or a front end alignment or common things, brake jobs that you have done that cars are going to need.
And in relation to this, by the time we get ready to purchase a car, he knows exactly not only how much we're willing to pay, but how much we should have to pay for an automobile. So there's lots of examples in there of research that is done before you purchase a product and making sure you're getting the best value for your money. It's time for the bonus tip. This is the one thing that we have done that has been absolutely critical to us actually achieving great big goals on a low income.
And, I think this point dovetails into quite a bit of what we've already talked about. But, okay, the bonus tip is, drum
Wait,
roll.
can I do? Thank
yeah,
you.
by all means.
Love my drum roll.
they embrace delayed gratification.
It does not bother us to wait and bide our time. Now, while we're biding our time, we're going to be employing all these habits that we just shared with you. Seriously, this is like the encapsulation of all of these habits and what they actually mean to an extremely frugal person. We're going to write down those goals. We're going to track that goal. We're going to see as we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to that goal. That's going to keep us moving forward so we don't get stuck. And we are telling ourselves we are not depriving ourselves. Deprivation is not what frugality is
No,
about.
it is not.
It is not.
It's not.
Frugality is about choosing deliberately when, where, and how you are going to spend your money, and just wait until the perfect product comes up at a price that you are willing to pay. Delayed gratification, learn to take it up again and again and again, guys. And if you do, you're going to consistently spend less and save more. Now, if you are ready for practical tips, like you want to know, how did you do this? Okay, told me all these habits, these mindset things. I want to know what you really did. Boots on the ground. How did you do this? We did a 3-part series, guys. It's all about practical frugality. We give you 70 strategies that we have used over the past 30 years to save money, and it's right over there. That's what you want to watch next.